The next category is anusaya, latent tendencies, and they are kama raga anusaya, sensual desire is lobha, bhava raga anusaya, attachment for existence, again lobha, patigha anusaya, patigha means ill will, so dosa, and mana anusaya, pride or conceit, mana, and ditha anusaya, deity, wrong view, vichikicha anusaya, doubt, and avijja anusaya, moha. So there are 7 anusayas, but according to ultimate realities there are 6 mental factors that are called anusayas. And then sanyojanas, fetters, 10 according to Suttanta method. First is kama raga sanyojana, and kama raga sanyojana is lobha. Rupa raga sanyojana is again lobha. Arupa raga sanyojana, lobha. Patigha sanyojana, dosa. Mana sanyojana, mana, conceit. Ditthi sanyojana, ditthi, wrong view. Silapata paramasa sanyojana, wrong view. Vichikicha sanyojana, vichikicha. Uddhacha sanyojana, uddhacha, and avijja sanyojana, moha. So 10 sanyojanas, but only 7 mental factors that are called sanyojanas. And 10 sanyojanas according to Abhidhamma method, kama raga sanyojana, again lobha, bhava raga sanyojana, lobha, patigha sanyojana, dosa, mana sanyojana, mana, pride or conceit, ditthi sanyojana, ditthi, wrong view, silapata paramasa sanyojana, wrong view, vichikicha sanyojana, doubt, vichikicha, issa sanyojana, issa, envy, and machariya sanyojana, avarice, and avijja sanyojana, moha. So there are 10 sanyojanas according to Abhidhamma method, but only 8 mental factors called sanyojanas. Next one. The last category is kilesa, defilements. So there are 10 mental defilements, and the first one, lobha is lobha, dosa is dosa, moha is moha, mana is mana, ditthi is ditthi, vichikicha is vichikicha, thina is thina, uddhacha is uddhacha, hirika is hirika, moral shamelessness, and anodava, moral fearlessness. So here defilements are 10, and also 10 mental factors are called defilements. So this is the identification of each of the items mentioned in this section. And there is another chart in the book on page 270. Now, first one, greed. Greed has how many names? Greed is lobha, right? So lobha has taints, floods, bonds, knots, clinging, hindrance, latent disposition, fetter, defilement. So greed has 9 names in this section, but wrong view has only 8 names without the name of hindrance, and delusion has 7 names, and hatred or dosa has 5 names, and doubt 4 names, conceit 3 names, restlessness 3 names, sloth 2 names, worry or remorse 1 name, torpor 1 name, shamelessness 1 name, fearlessness 1 name, envy 1 name, avarice 1 name. So from this chart we can easily understand that greed has, say, 9 names, and they are change, floods, bonds, and so on. And so this section is a section of akusala cetasikas, or unwholesome mental states. So these unwholesome mental states are mentioned as having different names in this section, and we need to understand these names so that when we read the discourses, especially the discourses, we understand what the Buddha taught. So it is good to remember these names. You have to memorize a little, but if you do it little by little, you can get them easily or in a short time. But do not try to take all at once. That is impossible. So please go little by little. Now the second section. The second section is called mixed categories. Mixed means there will be wholesome states, unwholesome states, and neither wholesome nor unwholesome states. And the first category is roots. Now you are familiar with the roots. You met the roots in the 3rd chapter. So there are 6 roots, and they are 1. Greed, 2. Hatred, 3. Delusion, 4. Non-greed, 5. Non-hatred, and 6. Non-delusion. So they are called roots because they are like roots of trees. When there are roots, trees can grow in the same way. When the consciousness and other mental factors are accompanied by roots, they can grow. And the second category is jhana factors. How many jhana factors are you familiar with? 5 jhana factors, right? The first jhana has 5 jhana factors. And can you tell me the 5? Vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekagata. Now here we find 7 jhana factors, and they are vitaka, vichara, piti, ekagata, somanasa, joy, domanasa, displeasure, and upekha, equanimity. Now, somanasa is feeling. Domanasa is feeling. Upekha is also feeling. The word jhana here is used not in the sense of the technical word jhana, but it is used in the sense of closely contemplating the object. If any state can contemplate on the object closely, it is called a jhana factor. So here jhana factors does not mean those that accompany the jhana consciousness only. There are others also that are called jhana factors. For example, here domanasa. Now domanasa is displeasurable feeling, and this displeasurable feeling is also called jhana factor here. So it is new to us. Before we know only the somanasa and ubekha as jhana factors and not domanasa. So here jhana means not only the technical jhana, but also those factors that contemplate closely on the object. And then path factors. Now we are familiar with 8 path factors. Right understanding, right view, right intention, and so on. But here, path factors are given as 12 and not 8, because here we need mixed categories. So there will be unwholesome path factors also. So 1 is right view, 2 right intention or right thought, 3 right speech, 4 right action, 5 right livelihood, 6 right effort, 7 right mindfulness, 8 right concentration. Up to this we are familiar with. These are the factors of the Eightfold Path also. But number 9, wrong view. Now wrong view is also called a path factor. And number 10, wrong intention or wrong thought. And number 11, wrong effort. And number 12, wrong concentration. Now they are called path because they lead to some particular destination. They lead to blissful states of existence. They lead to rebirth in human realm and the celestial realms. And also they lead to the rebirth in 4 woeful states, and some of them lead to Nibbana. So because they lead to some particular destination, they are called path factors. Now, there are no distinct path factors of wrong speech, wrong action, and wrong livelihood, since these are simply unwholesome modes of conduct motivated by defilements. Although there is right speech, right action, right livelihood, there are no wrong speech, wrong action, and wrong livelihood, because these are simply unwholesome modes of conduct motivated by defilements. There is no factor of wrong mindfulness, since mindfulness is an exclusively beautiful cetasika absent in the unwholesome cetas. Now we must note this carefully. It is true that there is no such thing as wrong mindfulness, because mindfulness is beautiful cetasika. So since it is a beautiful cetasika, it accompanies only beautiful consciousness. So it does not accompany unwholesome consciousness. So there can be no wrong mindfulness, or Pali micchasati. But in some discourses, the word micchasati is used. So we find micchasati in some discourses. So there the commentary explains that there is no such thing as micchasati actually, but the 4 mental aggregates that arise when remembering something in the past is called wrong mindfulness. So we may use the word wrong mindfulness, but that is not mindfulness, but some unwholesome mental states and the unwholesome consciousness. Strictly according to Abhidhamma, there is no such thing as wrong mindfulness. If it is mindfulness, it must always be wholesome or indeterminate, but it can never be unwholesome. And the next category is faculties. You may be familiar with 5 faculties, because during meditation retreats, these 5 faculties are mentioned again and again by the teachers. But here, faculties are said to be how many? 22 faculties. Because both material faculties as well as the mental faculties are mentioned here. So there are altogether 22 faculties, and they are: 1, the eye faculty. Eye faculty means eye sensitivity. Now among the 28 material properties, there is one called eye sensitivity, sensitive material particles in the eye. So they are called eye sensitivity, and here they are called eye faculty. And number 2, the ear faculty. Number 3, the nose faculty. Number 4, the tongue faculty. Number 5, body faculty. 6, femininity faculty, being a female. The masculinity faculty, being a male. 8, the life faculty. There are 2 kinds of life faculty, mental and physical. And 9, the mind faculty, the mind itself. And the 10, the pleasure faculty. 11, the pain faculty. 12, the joy faculty. 13, the displeasure faculty. 14, the equanimity faculty. 15, the faith faculty. 16, energy faculty. 17, the mindfulness faculty. 18, the concentration faculty. 19, the wisdom faculty. And from 20 to 22, the name of the faculties is difficult to memorize. The faculty, I will know the unknown. And then 21 is the faculty of final knowledge. I'll explain it later. And 22, the faculty of one who has final knowledge. Now, the Pali word for faculties is indriya. You see the word indriyani in the Pali passage, bhavisat indriyani. So indriya is the original Pali word for the English word faculty. And indriya means to have control over, to exercise control over. These faculties have control over their respective domains. For example, the eye faculty. Eye faculty has a control over seeing. The ear faculty has control over hearing, and so on. So in their respective domains, they are the masters. So from eye faculty to number 8, life faculty, they are physical. But number 8 can be divided into 2, one physical and the other mental. And then mind faculty means 89 types of consciousness, all. And the pleasure faculty means what? Feeling. The pain faculty also feeling, the joy faculty feeling, displeasure faculty feeling, equanimity faculty feeling. So here equanimity means feeling, not the other kind of equanimity. And then 15, the faith faculty, 16, energy faculty, the 17, the mindfulness faculty, 18, the concentration faculty, and 19, the wisdom faculty. These 5 faculties are very important faculties, very important factors, especially in the practice of meditation. So during the practice of meditation, one has to keep them in proper balance, these 5 faculties. And number 20, 21 and 22, the author himself will explain a little later. So there are these 22 faculties. Now if you want to read more about these faculties, please read Path of Purification, chapter 16. And the next category is powers. In Pali they are called bala, strength, power. So they are power of faith, of energy, of mindfulness, of concentration, of wisdom, of shame, that is moral shame or shame of wrongdoing, and fear of wrongdoing, and the power of shamelessness, and the power of fearlessness of wrongdoing. So these 9 are called powers. Now you know the first 5 are the same as the faculties that are important in meditation: faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. And the others are shame for wrongdoing, the fear of wrongdoing, and then shamelessness for wrongdoing and fearlessness of wrongdoing. They are called powers or balas because they cannot be shaken by their opposites. So they are called, bala means strong. Strong, they have strength so that they cannot be shaken by their opposites. And because they strengthen their adjuncts, because they strengthen their concomitants. Now, wholesome and unwholesome. Wholesome can eradicate unwholesome, but unwholesome cannot eradicate wholesome. At the moment of enlightenment, the wholesome consciousness arises, and that wholesome consciousness, along with its concomitants, eradicates the unwholesome mental defilements. So wholesome states have the power to eradicate unwholesome mental states, but unwholesome mental states do not possess that power. So here, they cannot be shaken by their opposites. But among the 9 powers, there are power of shamelessness and power of fearlessness. They are unwholesome. Since they are unwholesome, they can be shaken by their opposites. So they are called powers because they cannot be shaken by opposites, actually apply to the wholesome and indeterminate factors only, and not to unwholesome factors. And then the next category is adipatis, predominance. There are 4 predominant things, factors, and they are chanda, predominance of desire, 2, predominance of energy, number 3, predominance of consciousness, 4, predominance of investigation. Now, here, predominant factors mean those that dominate the consciousness and its concomitants to which they belong. Now, when they arise together, they dominate the other mental factors and also the cetas that goes along with it. So a predominant exercises supreme control over the entire domain or entire ceta. Now, we must understand the difference between the faculties and predominance. Faculties have control over the concomitants in their own domain, but predominant have the supreme control over the entire citta. So that is the difference. Predominant is like a king and faculties are like ministers. So ministers are bosses in their own domains, but the king is the one who has the supreme authority over all the country, or over the ministers also. So there is difference between the predominance and the faculties. Among them, the first one, predominance of desire. Here, desire does not mean attachment or craving or greed or lobha. It is in Pali chanda, just a desire to do. Now, desire can be something without attachment, without greed. So here desire means just the will to do or the desire to act, just the desire to act. Chanda is compared to a person picking up the arrows to shoot. So when a person picks up the arrow to shoot, he has no attachment to the arrows. He just picks them up to shoot. So the chanda is like that. Just the will to do, the desire to do, the desire to act is chanda. That chanda can be predominant in the minds of people. Now, when Bodhisattva aspires for Buddhahood, it is said that he had very strong chanda, very strong desire to act. That very strong chanda prompted him to aspire for Buddhahood, because he saw beings suffering in the round of rebirths, and so he had great compassion for all beings, and so he had that very strong desire to save people from the round of rebirths. So strong that he would walk from this side of the world to the other side of the world, that is covered with embers, that is covered with charcoal and so on. So, or maybe there are thorns all along the way, and if you walk on these thorns and go to reach the other shore, you will become a Buddha. He will do it like that. So his desire is so great. So that is not attachment or not craving, just desire to do. And the second is virya. You know about virya, the effort or making effort. And the third is consciousness. So sometimes consciousness can be predominant. And the last one is investigation. Investigation really means understanding, not just investigating and understanding. So actually it is understanding, or panya. So these four, only one of these four can be predominant at one time. There can be no four kings in a country. There can be only one king in the country. In the same way, there can be only one predominant or one adhipati in the arising of consciousness and mental factors. But there can be, or there may be, different faculties. So faculties can coexist and can arise at the same time, but these four predominants can arise only one at a time. And later on, the author himself will say where the predominance can be obtained and so on. And then next is nutriments, or ahara in Pali. So they are edible food, contact, mental volition, and consciousness. So these four are called ahara. Normally ahara means food or nutriment. But the contact is also called an ahara or nutriment. Volition is also called a nutriment, and consciousness is also called a nutriment. Now, according to this Sutanta method of explanation, edible food as nutriment sustains the physical body. Ahara means holding or something like that, or supporting. So here, the edible food as nutriment, as ahara, sustains the physical body. Contact sustains feeling, because feeling is conditioned by contact. In the doctrine of dependent origination, you know, the phassa paccaya vedana. So feeling arises conditioned by contact. And then mental volition or cetana sustains rebirth in the three realms of existence. Cetana or karma produces rebirth in the three realms of existence, being realms of sensual desire, realms of metta, and realms of non-metta or immaterial realm. And consciousness sustains the the mind and body. So that is why they are called ahara, nutriments. And according to Abhidhamma method, edible food sustains the material phenomena of full origination in the body, the material properties in the body. And the other three nutriments sustain all their cognizant mental and material phenomena. Whereas edible food as matter is indeterminate, the three mental nutriments can be all of the three ethical qualities. Now we will differentiate them later. So there are four kinds of nutriments of aharas, and the first one is just food. Actually, the nutriment in the food. And the second is contact or phassa, and the third is cetana or volition, and the fourth is consciousness. So, how many categories do we have now? Roots, jhana factors, path factors, faculties, powers, predominance, nutriments. 7. So 7 categories are treated in this section, section of mixed categories. Now comes the clarification. Among the faculties, it is explained that the faculty, I will know the unknown, is the knowledge of the path of stream entry. So that faculty, faculty number 20. Faculty number 20 is none other than panya, or knowledge that arises with the path of Sotapatti. Now, I will know the unknown. That means before one becomes a Sotapanna, one has not known the Four Noble Truths. So, only when one reaches the stage of stream entry does one know the Four Noble Truths. So the panya or knowledge that accompanies the path of stream entry is called faculty, I will know the unknown. The faculty of one who has final knowledge is the knowledge of the fruit of arahantship. Now number 22. The faculty of one who has final knowledge. That means who has known. That means whose work of knowing or understanding has finished. So that kind of person can be only an arahant. So when a person becomes an arahant, he has no more to do regarding the attainment of enlightenment. So he is the one who is said to have final knowledge, the ultimate knowledge. So the knowledge accompanying the fruit of arahantship is called the faculty of one who has final knowledge. Now number 21. The faculty of final knowledge. Now here, the Pali word is anyendriya and anya. Can you find the Pali word there? The last line of the Pali passage. Anyendriya, anyata vindriya. Anyendriya is a compound of anya and indriya. And that word anya is composed of two things, A, long A, and Nya. And A here denotes limit, and Nya means understanding. Understanding within the limits of Sotapatti Magga. That means understanding like Sotapatti Magga. That means understanding that can eradicate some mental defilements only and not all mental defilements. So, Anyendriya means knowledge accompanying the Sotapatti Phala, and then Sakadagami, Magga and Phala, Anagami, Magga and Phala, and Arahata Magga. You know, there are 8 kinds of noble persons: Sotapatti Magga person, Sotapatti Phala person, right? And Sakadagami, Anagami, Arahata Magga person, Arahata Phala person. Now the first one, Sotapatti Magga, knowledge accompanying that Sotapatti Magga is the number 20. The faculty, I will know the unknown. And the knowledge accompanying the last is the number 22, the faculty of one who has final knowledge. And the knowledge accompanying the 6 types of consciousness between is called the faculty of final knowledge, or faculty of knowledge within limits. So these 3 are actually the knowledge that accompanies the supramundane types of consciousness. So they are supramundane. The 19, the wisdom of faculty, can be mundane. And life faculty is of 2 kinds, the physical and mental. Now you have met life faculty both among the Cetasikas and material properties. Among the 52 Cetasikas, there is one called Jivitindriya, life faculty. That is life faculty for mental states. And among the 28 material properties, there is again Jivitindriya, and that is physical. So they maintain the mental states and physical material properties respectively. Now, there are jhana factors: vitaka, vichara, piti, vedana, and ekagata. So the jhana factors are not found in the 5-fold sense consciousness. That means in the 5-fold sense consciousness, although there may be some jhana factors, they are not called jhana factors. Let us say one-pointedness of mind, ekagata. Ekagata accompanies every type of consciousness. So ekagata accompanies the 5-fold sense consciousness, or let us say seeing consciousness. So there is ekagata with seeing consciousness, but that ekagata is not called a jhana factor. And it is given in this book because their function and physical base are weak, and they occupy an elementary place in the cognitive process. They cannot engage in a close contemplation of the object and thus their concomitant feeling and one-pointedness do not acquire the stature of jhana factors. So, ordinarily, we say there are 5 or 7 jhana factors, and feeling is one of them, and one-pointedness of mind is one of them. And feeling accompanies the seeing consciousness and so on, and one-pointedness also accompanies seeing consciousness and so on. But they are not called jhana factors when they accompany the seeing consciousness and so on. And initial application is the foundation of the jhana factors. So only when there is initial application can there be jhana factors, and initial application does not accompany the seeing consciousness and so on, and so those jhana factors that arise with seeing consciousness and others are not called jhana factors. And then the powers in those kinds of consciousness that are without energy. Now, there are types of consciousness that are not accompanied by energy. And you have to go back to the second chapter to understand that. So, energy is required in a citta for its constituents to acquire the stature of powers. The consciousness to be strong, then energy is required. So, in the 16 types of consciousness that are devoid of energy, the mental factor one-pointedness cannot fulfill the function of the power of concentration. Now, there are 16 types of consciousness that are not accompanied by viriya or energy. And again, you have to go back to the second chapter. But with those types of consciousness, one-pointedness will arise. So one-pointedness that arises with those 16 types of consciousness is not called a jhana factor. And also in the rootless consciousness, no path factors can be obtained. So the path factors are not found in the 18 rootless consciousness. Again, 18 types of consciousness are accompanied by one-pointedness, but it is not called a path factor there. And in consciousnesses accompanied by doubt, one-pointedness lacks reinforcement by decision and is overrun by doubt with its vacillating nature. Thus, it cannot attain the status of a path factor, faculty, or power. There are two types of consciousness accompanied by moha only. What is the first one? Two types of consciousness accompanied by moha only among the 12 akusala cettas. So the first one is accompanied by vicikiccha, doubt, and the second one is accompanied by uddhacca. So with that vicikiccha citta, there is ekaggata, because ekaggata or one-pointedness accompanies every type of consciousness. But that one-pointedness is not called a path factor or faculty or power. So these chetas divide in the consciousness accompanied by doubt. One-pointedness lacks reinforcement by decision. There is no decision there. And is overrun by doubt with its vacillating nature. Thus, it cannot attain the status of a path factor. So, although one-pointedness accompanies the consciousness with doubt, it is not called a path factor. And predominance can occur only one at a time, for it is inherent in the nature of predominance that only one state can function as a predominant in any given cheta. And then only in jhavanas with 2 or 3 roots according to circumstances. Now, there are 55 jhavanas, and some are accompanied by 2 roots and others are accompanied by 3 roots. And also there is a jhavana that is not accompanied by any root. So among them, only in jhavanas with 2 roots or 3 roots can predominant be obtained. So predominance can be found only with the jhavanas with 2 or 3 roots and not with 1 root. And according to circumstances means the investigation predominance cannot accompany the 2-root jhavanas because it is knowledge. This is a little complicated. So first we understand the jhana factors, path factors and so on. Later from among them there are some factors that are not called jhana factors, path factors and so on, although they may arise with a certain cheta. So there is this difference. Okay, now I want you to find out which are wholesome, which are unwholesome, and which are neither wholesome nor unwholesome among the categories of this section. If you read the book, you will already get it from the book. So this section is a compendium of mixed categories, right? So mixed means wholesome, unwholesome, and neither wholesome nor unwholesome. Lobha can be what? Wholesome or unwholesome or indeterminate. What is lobha? Wholesome or unwholesome or indeterminate? Unwholesome. Alobha can be wholesome and also it can be indeterminate because it can accompany vipaka, the resultant chetas also. Adosa, same thing. Amoha, wholesome and indeterminate. In this way you can find out which belong to wholesome, which to unwholesome, and which to neither wholesome nor unwholesome. Or if you don't want to try to find them out, just look at page 277. Okay, we will do the identification tomorrow.